Hello and welcome to another episode of the Transfer Podcast on the YouTube of Anfield Index and Anfield Index Pro. And I'm Trev Downey, and that is Dave Davis. And we are here today to talk about even more stories that just won't stop. We thought we'd have a few days break and we'd come back to you giving it a full week. But no, we had two last week. And here we are, the first opportunity in the next week. And there's more stories, Dave. And it's exciting in one way, a little bit unnerving in another. Obviously, the big one, we should start there, is the Van Dijk news that most people have now accepted and taken in. But I think there was a little bit of a playful interaction between Virgil and an interviewer about when this might happen. And it seems, doesn't it, like it might be Friday now. There are quite a few hints going around. And when you told me or suggested to me, here, look at this, someone saying Friday, I think my reaction was, well, that's good business by Liverpool, spread it out to the maximum, have 2 weekends of celebration, have another good feel-good buzz going into the weekend's fixture. Makes a lot of sense.
It does. It absolutely does. I mean, after the game, there's the interview, isn't there, with Salah and Van Dijk, and there's the playful jibes, and they're laughing at, and we're all like, yeah, we all know this is done. Just like, when's it going to be? And he says, I know, that famous Virgil line, I know, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, he knows fully what's happening and when it's all getting released. And then, as you said, there's the line coming out, and it's an interesting one that Jan Fjortoft tweeted. It seems like there's going to be more great news at Liverpool. Got a feeling it will be a good Friday for all their fans. And even David Lynch, who we had on Media Matters earlier, said his info, it's going to be this week. That seems to be unanimous, which, if you think about it, Trev, you start eliminating the days. I mean, it's not going to be tomorrow because that's the Hillsborough anniversary. So quite rightly, that will be the full focus there. So the days start to move on. You think Salah's released on the Friday morning. Arneslot has a press conference on Friday morning. Why not just rinse, repeat in that regard? And we shouldn't just brush it off, because this is brilliant news again. We said Salah was brilliant news. This is brilliant news. To have the two main men tied down, the elite players, the two player of the year contenders really as well. This just feels like, obviously, if this is true, but all the info is it's going to be sometime this week, a massive, massive positive.
Speaking of massive positives, we have a group of fans who have a unique capacity for turning any positive stuff like that into anxiety or worry or fear or negativity. And one of the first things I noticed straight away was people saying, well, now the money is going to be going to Virgil and to Mo, and there'll be no new signings. And, there's always people who are going to be unhappy. It's a remarkable perspective. And it's one that's not just like a couple of lone nuts. It's quite a few people who, we like them in a way. We're fond of these types who enjoy transfers more than football, because there are people in a way for this show.
Yeah.
But, we do try to walk the line. You and I are football fans first and transfer gossip mongers second. And it's hard to understand that perspective. We're going to come on to it later on, but there was a well-known journalist as well who was kind of expressing a similar view that, we've got these two guys nailed down. I'm not sure if you gave us a detail there, but I think you mentioned to me earlier on, we're looking at a bump in pay for Virgil. And I'm not sure if we're looking at something like that for Mo, or if he's happy to be the highest earner for another 2 years, or how that works. Are there any details coming out around that? Because this is the kind of thing, like I said, is driving people to anxiety.
Yeah, it was, because there was a lot of speculation at first when it was coming around that Mo Salah was going to have to take a wage cut, wasn't he, to stay? And that's been quickly dispelled. Like, no, it's a small bump in that regard. That's the info we've got. And then it was, you're right to mention it, Trevor. It was just like a line in the Paul Joyce article about Mo Salah, but saying when Virgil van Dijk is set to sign, that there's no doubt he's set to become the best paid centre half in world football. So that's obviously going to be a wage bump as well, isn't it? And you're right. I saw some people like on the verge of losing their minds a little bit, like, that's the summer budget gone. Why are we supposed? It's Virgil van Dijk. It is the best centre half in world football. So if he's paid as the best centre-half in world football, how many times are we saying this line in the last few shows? It's not our money. He's one of our best players. He's not going to play for like slushies and moon pies, is he, in the nicest way? Like, he also, as we've said before, has turned down massive wages from PSG, Saudi, and all. Of course, there's going to be a decent contract on offer for him. He's the best centre half in the world. I don't know why people look for sort of the elements of dismalness in the joy a little bit, but I get wages and budgets come in, but people, it's Virgil van Dijk. He's going to stay. Let's be happy.
Yeah, you're right, and it's an important thing to say. That point, like take a beat and actually do enjoy it, because taking it for granted is about the same as the people who are going to take the league win for granted and start grumbling about how the quadruple was missed and what are we going to do next year. Smell the roses, I think, is what you're suggesting, and I agree with you entirely. So we obviously had to start there because it's the most certain, as you said, that really coy. Well, I know, but I don't know from Virgil means it's going to happen soon, and betting men would put their money on Friday. But most people are listening to us and watching us this evening because they want to hear about the new players we're being linked with and the current players that are being linked with exits. And in the centre half department and defence in general, we surely are going to be busy. Dave, we saw a game, and we can't ignore it, where Andy Roberts came on, had a horror cameo after having a horror match previous to that. Nobody could really see what Tsimikas had done wrong to be taken off, and minutes management for a lad like Tsimikas makes no sense. Connor Bradley, I thought, was making us look quite structured at right back. Again, tinkering occurred there, and we put a centre half out there, and that didn't work out particularly well. And we already know that there were rumours around not just Virgil, which have been put to bed, but our other, rock at the heart of the defence there, Ibrahima Konate. And we know that our third in line, theoretically, Joe Gomez, the kind of utility man, is highly likely to be on his bike this summer. So there's a whole lot going on. And yet all I'm hearing is maybe one name on the regular, two names on the regular for all of those positions across the back. Talk us through what you know about the defence, the ones we're being linked to, and the ones that we're feeling maybe on their bike.
Yeah, I mean, Dean Huijsen is the place to start. There's no surprise there, is there at all? Link. David Ornstein mentioned him again in his Q&A. He had that exclusive out as well. The big thing around digging for this one is, Liverpool absolutely like Huijsen, maybe more than people think. Because I think when people think Huijsen, first of all, they'll think that's the good third choice to come in, build him up and go from there, which I get. Liverpool highly rate this kid. Now, a couple of things to say on this. The Ornstein line in the article here, which I think is worth just calling out, around Liverpool and Dean Huijsen and Konate, saying maybe their consideration is influenced by the lack of development so far on Ibrahima Konate's contract, which we'll come to. And you can imagine Huijsen would have a good chance of starting alongside Virgil van Dijk if he was signed. Now, people are going to have mixed views on that a little bit, Trev, because the ceiling for this kid's massive. There's a reason why all the big clubs want him, no doubt about that. But where he is right now against where Ibu is right now, Ibu, who's played in a World Cup final, Ibu who's played in the Champions League final and been, man of the match for us, set to win a league and all. There's still a gap there, isn't there, in this regard? But on this, two big things that we've been able to dig out. Liverpool have proper got in for Huijsen, seriously, made their pitch, gone in. Virgil van Dijk's on the phone call with him. The lot is our info, Trev. They are really trying hard to bring this kid. They think the ceiling with this kid is massive. The side is, when you look at that line of Ornstein's, what is it at? Where are his minutes? Is he looking at starter? All these types of things it raises. It kind of comes back to Ibu a little bit as well. And the big thing that we're getting with Ibu is Liverpool are trying to negotiate him. They want him to stay. Of course they do. But with all the wage increases at the moment, I mean, they kind of got handed a bit of a poison chalice, didn't they? Richard Hughes, Julian Ward, and all these. And you've done the wage bump for Van Dijk. You've done the wage bump for Salah. You've now got a Bradley wanting a wage bump, a Curtis Jones wanting a wage bump. The talks, as you've seen the figures as well, Ibu wants a big wage bump, doesn't he? Like, there's that. So Liverpool obviously want to keep them, but it's got to be in line with everything. And the big thing that a lot of people are talking about, a lot of journalists are just wondering, which I get, is where is the line drawn eventually? You know, if they set an absolute ceiling, and Konate is well liked by a number of clubs we know, like Real, PSG, especially. He's got a year left to go in the summer, Trev. It's quite clear Liverpool have either got to renew or sell. There's no running down of Ibu Konate for a free. It just cannot happen. Simple as that. So he's either got to, I don't know how you put it, get on board with the structure, what they're wanting. Yes, of course, there's going to be a wage bump. But I say this with a bit of balance. I love Ibu. I think he's got some great attributes. He's not Van Dijk, though, is he? At the same time, and you do wonder where they see him in the actual, like, how much this has to be done, where they'll bend the line to, like they have for Salah and Van Dijk ultimately. And the other name, we've mentioned it before, we're hearing, is Mark Gay's the other one they're really looking at, but Huijsen is the one they've gone big on. My only worry on this is they're different centre halves, aren't they? Ibu was a behemoth, brilliant in the air, absolute powerhouse, quick. Maybe not the best on the ball, but got better. Like, he's got his strengths, no doubt about it. Those are the two centre halves, maybe better on the ball. Gay, you know, a better ball player. Gay, Huijsen, definitely a better ball player. You see it as progressive stats, but they're not the giant behemoths we're used to at the back, aren't we? Like a Joel Matip even as the alternate. But maybe, and this is what we've said, and to be fair, it was your line last week, and I think it's right. We don't know what an Arne Slot centre-half is yet, do we? Because he's inherited these. So maybe actually Huijsen, ball player, a Gay, better ball player, is more of an Arne Slot that he'll sacrifice that aerial ability. But this is almost a strange thing to say because it's the transfer show. I don't want Huijsen and Gay to be coming in because that would mean they've not been able to do a deal with Konate and they're shipping him out.
Yeah, and how much store do you place by the numbers that are going around with the Konate thing? Because unless I'm miscalculating, what he's reportedly asking for is not a bump. It's 150%. To go from 80 to 200,000.
Yeah.
That's, you know, on the back of having done deals for our two, you know, superstars, increasingly unlikely. And again, we might just be getting fed a line of crap on that, but those figures were very much out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Those figures, and a lot of speculation, but the things you know in this whole situation is we know Huijsen's release clause, and Paul Joyce, David Ornstein, and others have written about the Ibu Konate wage demands. As you said there, we've seen it in print, 200 grand a week from 80. That's bump's probably me underselling it a little bit, isn't it? It's a huge jump and it's a massive change to the structure. Again, I just wonder, where does that line bend and where does it break? And as a few have put there in the chat panel, it's well known PSG and others are looking at Ibu. But all we've got is Liverpool will not let Ibu go on a free. So it's either they want to do this deal, they want him to stay, and hopefully his big brother Virgil just puts his arm around the shoulder and, you know, like, come on, we want you here. Like, let's get this done. But my only worry is, as much as we celebrate transfers, I don't want Huijsen and Gay, as it's probably bad news in terms of a departure.
Do you think in the best possible situation, we get Joe Gomez fit and in a very cynical way, cash in on the asset that is Joe Gomez and find ourselves bringing in a project at centre half and holding on to Kwanzaa, and that then becomes your four? Does that seem like a likely thing to you?
it makes sense a little bit, and I think about that. And the reason I say a little bit, it makes sense as an argument, a bit like you said at the start. If you take away Huijsen and you take away Gay, the only other one that's really been mentioned, as we've said before, is that Schlotterbeck. Now, he's got a knee injury again and he's out for the season. So you're thinking, that's probably a big red line through that one. We ain't hearing a lot of centre-half names. And just my thoughts were a little bit with the talk of homegrown that we've mentioned the other week. Well, Gay's English for a start, so that's a tick in the box. And Huijsen's under 21, isn't he? So that's a tick in the box as well. So there's always a name that can break, so it's possible. But it's back to that line you said. There's just not many more names out there at the moment.